ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਇੰਟਰਜਨ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਹੀ ਦਰਸ਼ਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੇਰੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਪਿਆਰ ਭਰੀ ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ। ਮੈਂ ਹਾਂ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਹੋਸਟ ਰੀਨਾ ਧਾਲੀਵਾਲ। ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਹੋਰ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਹੋਏ ਹਾਂ। ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਥੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਭਵਿੱਖ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ। ਅੱਜ ਤੱਕ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਅਜਿਹਾ ਪੇਰੈਂਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਸਕਸੈਸਫੁਲ ਜਾਂ ਲਾਈਫ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਫਲ ਨਾ ਹੋਣ। ਉਹ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਵਧੀਆ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ, ਵਧੀਆ ਭਵਿੱਖ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਆਸ ਰੱਖਦੇ ਨੇ। ਔਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਹਾਈ ਸਕੂਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੱਚੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਭਵਿੱਖ ਉਸ ਦਾ ਫੈਸਲਾ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਅਤੇ ਉਦੋਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਾਰੀ ਕਈ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਮੁਸ਼ਕਲਾਂ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਆਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ। ਕਈ ਬੱਚੇ ਤਾਂ ਬੜੇ ਕਲੀਅਰ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੀ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ, ਲੇਕਿਨ ਕਈ ਬੱਚੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਛੋਟੀ ਜਿਹੀ ਉਮਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਦਾ ਐਡਾ ਵੱਡਾ ਫੈਸਲਾ ਕਰਨਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਔਖਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈ। ਅਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਭਵਿੱਖ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਫੈਸਲੇ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੇ ਕਰਨੇ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਡੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਸੌਖੀ ਰਹੇ। ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਡੇ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਇੱਥੇ ਵਧੀਆ ਜੀਵਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਅਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਲੋਕ ਹੁਣ ਵੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਇਸੇ ਹੀ ਟੀਚੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਆ ਵਧੀਆ ਹੋਵੇ, ਸੌਖੀ ਹੋਵੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਭਵਿੱਖ ਵਧੀਆ ਹੋਵੇ। ਪਰ ਉਹ ਦੇਖਣ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿੰਝ ਦਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈ, ਕਿਵੇਂ ਦਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਭਵਿੱਖ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਫਲਤਾ ਵਾਲਾ ਉਹ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਦਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈ, ਬੱਚਾ ਕਿਹੋ ਜਿਹਾ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ, ਉਹ ਕਿਹੋ ਜਿਹਾ ਇਨਸਾਨ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ। ਇਹ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰਾ ਭਾਰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਹੈ, ਇਸ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਟਰੈਸ ਹੈ, ਚਿੰਤਾ ਹੈ, ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ। ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਤਾਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੀ ਹੈ, ਲੇਕਿਨ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ 'ਤੇ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਜੋ ਸਾਡੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਹੈ, ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਗ੍ਰੇਡ 12 ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਰਨ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਉਸ ਬੱਚੀ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਹਾਈ ਸਕੂਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿਹੋ ਜਿਹੀਆਂ ਮੁਸ਼ਕਲਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਾਹਮਣਾ ਕਰਨਾ ਪਿਆ ਅਤੇ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਕੋਰਸ ਚੋਇਸਿਸ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਚਿੰਤਾਪੂਰਵਕ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਅਤੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਭਵਿੱਖ ਆਪਣਾ ਉਸ ਦਾ ਫੈਸਲਾ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਔਖਾ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਮਿਲਾਂਦੀ ਹਾਂ ਜੋ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਗੈਸਟ ਨੇ। ਸਟੂਡੀਓ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਅਮਰੋ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਹੈ। ਅਮਰੋ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸਟੂਡੀਓ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੈਲਕਮ ਹੈ।
Hello, thank you for welcoming me. I'm Amro, grade 12 student, as you mentioned. I go to school in Oakville, a school called Garth Webb. I do a lot there, a lot of extracurriculars. I play with the school teams and I play outside of that as a student athlete. I'm also interested as an artist, and yeah, that's a bit about me.
Amra, you mentioned you play. Mm-hmm. What do you play, and can you talk a little bit about that?
Right. I play basketball. I've been playing basketball since grade 7, and I think it was my brothers that influenced me to start playing that. I play with my school. I've played outside with Burlington. And I also coach now, so I've come a long way, and now I coach young kids on small development and little skills.
So you're passing the skills that you learned in your basketball as a player, and now you're coaching the little kids.
Yeah. And
so tell me, how was it that, so you were player and you were in high school. How was that for you in terms of balancing that life?
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel like not only just playing the sport as an athlete, but having a coaching job as well. It's two extracurriculars on top of school. It's very hard to manage because you see that most of your schedule is lined up with school for majority of the day, and then about 2-3 hours of work and 2 hours of practice. So we end up having not a lot of time outside of that to study or go out and enjoy time with friends or whatnot. And a lot of the weekends are usually taken up too. So I'd say it's pretty tough, and it involves a lot of discipline and hard work to try to keep on top of all three of those things.
So you mentioned you're in grade 12 and you have had to make choices in terms of your courses, right? So from grade 9 onwards, tell me a little bit about how challenging was it for you to make decisions in terms of what kind of courses you had to take, what kind of pressure you had from your parents in terms of, taking courses to be successful in life?
Yeah, well, I find that, my grade 9 year was a COVID year, so it was kind of tough being able to understand how high school really worked. And having those kind of parent nights that you would have had when you were in grade 9 about course selection, all that kind of stuff, we didn't have. So I'd say that it was a bit tougher than it could have been. But throughout grade 9 to now, I think that my choices and courses have changed so much. And because you learn so much in high school, it's so hard to kind of pick and choose where you want to go, because you have the technologies, you have the trades, the sciences, English, and you're exposed to so many different types of things. It's a lot of pressure trying to decide, because you feel like you have to decide for your whole future. And so I think that what helped me the most was kind of trying to align what my hobbies were with what I wanted to do as a career, so I could be able to balance passion and balance work into something that I would be fulfilled by. But even choosing that is so much pressure, because you feel like the courses you're choosing in grade 12 dictate where you go in your future. And sometimes people will tell you, oh no, it doesn't, but when you're younger, it really feels like it does. It tells you what university you're going to, what job you might get after that. And not even just grade 12 courses, grade 11 courses, grade 10, there's so many prerequisites that you have to think about so early on that can change the outcome of what you go into as a career.
So as a parent, I'm thinking all you have to do is just focus on your school, just focus on your education, and that's all. That's your job, right? So why was it so stressful? You mentioned it was so much pressure, you felt pressure. Why was it stressful? What kind of stress did you have?
Well, I feel like along with just choosing these subjects, there's a lot of pressure put on the fact that right now is the time where you're supposed to be both in your youth, so you want to go out and you want to go do things that you do as a teenager, but there's also so much pressure because you're building the foundation of what starts a career. And even if it's just like choosing courses, yeah, but these courses pick what university I go to, they pick what field I go into, and that field picks what career I go into. And so that pressure that like what I choose right now is what my, like, I mean, you spend what, 50 years working, right? These 4 years, these 2 years, honestly, of high school, grade 11, grade 12, is supposed to make me decide what I want to do for the next 50 years. It's a lot, because I don't know, what if my mind changes? What if I don't love what I'm doing anymore? So it feels like what you have to choose right now has to be perfect. And you want it to be perfect because you don't want to switch it when you're older.
How has that impacted your mental health?
It's been a lot, because you think that just struggling to kind of keep grades really high so that you have more options, it impacts a lot, because when it comes to school, you want to just do as well as you can, and sometimes it's hard, because you might want to succeed in a subject, but maybe it's just not the right subject for you. If I wanted to succeed in, say, like chemistry, right, it's not the best subject for me. So when I try really, really hard and things don't go your way, it kind of feels very demotivating, and it's hard to come back from because it feels like that's all. Like, it feels like that's all you have.
Mm-hmm. So what kept you sort of in the state of mind where you could make these decisions? What helped you in high school that you kind of felt you could go and sort of express yourself? And I see you have art here, and you mentioned you're an artist, right? So would you say that this art piece, and I think you have a name for it?
Yeah, it's called Equally Human.
Equally Human. So tell me how this is related to your career choices and to your mental health.
Mm-hmm. So I would say in high school the best choice for me was finding art because it balanced both the sciences and the creative side of my mind. And not only has it been a really good balance, it's been an incredibly good outlet, because not only does it help me express my emotions onto paper or canvas, but it also helps other people understand what I'm going through. And I feel like nothing can express better than this canvas does of me.
So you mentioned what you were going through.
Yeah.
So what kind of things were you going through? What kind of life challenges were you going through while you talked about the pressure of choosing your career in grade 12?
Yeah.
So what kind of challenges were there?
So I had I'd say there was a lot of family things going on at home, and sometimes people don't really take that into consideration, that it's not just school, but also there's pressures of family. There's situations, different home situations, and there's also pressure as an athlete as well. And I think that's not really looked on enough, but the pressure of an athlete, feeling like you really need to succeed at things and having a very, very high expectation for yourself in all sports and school, it builds up so much pressure on you. And I think that this piece is called Equally Human, and I think that it's been a very, very good reflection of what it feels like to go through high school and what it feels like to be human. Yeah.
So who is in this piece?
So this part right here, this is me, and this is me sculpting, and the sculptures are real too. I have these 3 sculptures are also completed, yet they're not here. But these 3 sculptures are meant to show 3 different types of a breakdown, or 3 different types of kind of falling apart, really. And the reason why I chose 3 was because I believe that, like, as humans, no matter like status, race, gender, sexuality, orientation, whatever it is, it doesn't matter who you are or where you are in the world. Everyone has a point as a human where they're vulnerable or you break down, and I think that's what connects us the most. And so these 3 pieces are different types. The top one, breaking down. The middle one is just feeling distress and confusion, like there's nothing. It's like the end of an argument where you feel like you're in disbelief of what you just heard. And the last one that I'm working on is anger. And I chose these 3 because not only are they a reflection of breaking down in an argument, but they're also different ways that someone can reflect their emotions. And they're also very, very common feelings for any student out there. Any student has gone through anger at not being able to get what they want or be able to choose what they want, or frustration. Every student has been in disbelief of working so hard or working very hard and looking back at a grade, and you're just like, wow, that's not what I thought. And I think every student has broken down too because of how much pressure it is to do well and to succeed. So
you talked about stress, you talked about pressure. You talked about having to balance family life. That sounds a lot. And you said your art and being athlete. Did they help you to sort of, look at life differently, and they were your outlet so you could focus on your school?
I'd say they definitely were, because I feel like in school you focus so much on the little things and so many specific details, especially like sciences and Englishes, right? Like there's a lot in those subjects. But I think that what art does is it lets you take a step back and look at how the world is around you. It kind of lets you breathe a little bit, because when you're so focused and so like pent up on doing well in those kinds of subjects, you don't get a chance to express your creativity. You don't get a chance to look at the world from different perspectives, or really just take a step back and breathe and enjoy what's around you. Mm-hmm. And I feel like basketball and art has both helped me kind of live in the moment a little more, because it's allowed me to see that in a different perspective.
Was there pressure from your parents in terms of, you're focusing so much on art? Were you able to connect your art with, did you want to do something else? I think you mentioned kinesiology, right?
Yeah.
So were you able to connect and sort of, like, were your parents worried that you were going into arts and not into a real career, as a lot of parents would say?
Yeah, so I'm very grateful, because my parents had allowed me to kind of, whatever career I decided, it would be my career. It would be something that I was happy with, something I'm passionate with. So I never really had to deal with how much pressure there is when students have to choose between the arts and the sciences and business or whatnot. But I think that not having that pressure, it made a massive difference, because it let me take a step back and kind of look at how I could choose my career based off what my passions were and what my hobbies were and what I wanted to go into. So being able to do this allowed me to connect my art and my passion, which, as I had mentioned, was kinesiology, and it allowed me to kind of see how they work together along with basketball. So this way it made me feel, because I didn't have the pressure of, oh, you're not allowed to go into art at all, because I didn't have to deal with that, it let me see how I can use my art in a way that I can go into a career that I feel that I want to go into.
So what is your post-secondary sort of choice? Like, what are you doing? Do you know what you're going into, or you're still kind of iffy in terms of what your post-secondary education is going to look like?
Mm-hmm. So I would say that I think I'm pretty set on going into kinesiology, but I know that even if I was iffy, it makes a very big difference to know that my parents are supporting me. And because of that, I say to like a lot of people that even if you're feeling iffy, you don't have to choose your whole life at 17, and you can take an extra year. It's not gonna change your whole life.
But for parents, they think that that's it. Like that you need to make all the decisions by the end of grade 12. Mm-hmm. So why do they not have to do this? What options are there in high school that will allow them to not make that decision right away?
Mm-hmm. Well, right out of high school, after you finish your credits, you can always take an extra year in high school, which I find a lot of people look down on, but it's extremely helpful. It allows you to build your skill and build different things and a foundation that can help you in university and college or even the workplace. You can take a gap year, and that gap year is you can go maybe you can go visit new places, you can explore, you can live like a teenager. You can also start working for a year. And really all these options, they can change at any point.
But wouldn't they distract you from your career, from the focus that you should have, like in like isn't that's because that's a lot of parents, that's what we fear.
Yeah.
Right? That if you start working, you're going to get so used to earning the money. How are you going to focus on your career then? Or how are you going to get back in your career? So how do you see yourself doing that?
Yeah, well, I think not at all that that's the case, because when you start working or you start doing what you want to do, you get to take some sort of time. You get to take a little bit of a break that takes a step back, and you really get to look at what you want to go into. There's so many times, especially with a lot of my friends at school and stuff, they have no idea what they want to go into, and they feel so much pressure, so they're just like, I'm just going to go to business, or I'm just going to take this random course that they have no passion in whatsoever. And really, what's the big deal if you take 1, 2, 5 extra years to think about what you want to do for the next entire workforce? I would rather take a couple of years after high school to think about what I want to do in the future, and even working right after. It can help you in university, it can help you in college, it can help you in whatever you decide to go into with experience and knowledge. But I would rather take a couple of years to decide, because I don't think that there should be a time limit on choosing your career. I think it can be chosen at any point as long as it makes you happy. I wouldn't want to be stuck in something that makes me unhappy and makes me feel like it's a drag to go into work every day.
You mentioned in terms of it being a drag, and you mentioned about kinesiology being your passion, art being your passion, and you want to be able to do something, or take time. A lot of parents worry that their kids need to choose a career that is going to put them on a good path, or they're going to be able to survive, or they're going to be able to have a good life. What are your thoughts on what that good life might look like as a teenager?
As a teenager, I feel like I see the world very different, but I think that what I would imagine a good life for myself would be feeling like feeling fulfilled. And by that I mean, I feel like a lot of people tell you when you're younger that, oh, you got to make sure that you enjoy your teenage years, you got to make sure that you live, but then they don't give you a chance to live, because they put you in a box and they pressure you to do good in school. You don't get that chance. So I think that what I would see myself as happy in the future, or accomplished, would be to be happy, to be in something that makes me feel like I'm making a difference in the world, or even just a difference in myself. Something that has a positive impact on my well-being, and something that lets me still take a step back and enjoy the world around me instead of always focusing on the future. Because I think it's really important to kind of take a deep breath and just live in the moment.
So you talked about a lot of points, and I appreciate you sharing those, because vast majority of the parents, this is what we worry about, right? We want our kids to be successful in life, and oftentimes we don't necessarily know what that success is going to look like. So we say, choose this career because it's going to give you financial freedom, for example, right? So do you feel that kinesiology is as your passion, or art as your passion is going to be able to give you that financial freedom? And if not, then what are your suggestions to parents? Like, what can they do to still have trust in their kids, and know that the kids also are worried about their future?
Yeah. Well, I feel that as a student, having this option as both of them, it makes it a lot easier not having that pressure to choose. But when it comes to having pressure put on us by our parents, I feel that it's really not as necessary as you think it might be, because that pressure that you get, trust me, we're putting it on ourselves just as much, because it is just as stressful choosing something, especially when it comes to like money. A lot of people are stressed about, oh, if you choose your passion, you won't make money in it. And I don't think that's true at all, because I think that once you choose your passion, if you truly know what you want and you truly work hard towards your passion, you can make money in anything. Mm-hmm. And if that's what someone's worried about, I think they're worried about the wrong thing, because I would rather not have all the financial freedom in the world and be in a job that I don't enjoy at all and something that I don't like going to. I would much rather be able to do my work as an artist or do my work in kinesiology. So I feel like...
So if I heard you correctly,
Yeah.
You said you'd rather be in a career that makes you happy, that gives you freedom,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to not being in a job where you're not happy,
Yeah.
right? We're kind of heading towards the end of our discussion.
Mm-hmm.
What message do you want to give to the parents who might be worried, and the youth who are perhaps struggling to, convince or convey to their parents that they are worried about their future, and the parents who are worried about their kids?
Yeah.
As a teenager, as you are going into, or you're embarking this new chapter in your life, what can you share with the youth and the parents from your perspective?
Well, I'd say to the parents, that pressure that's being put on us, trust me, we're definitely feeling it. Even if it's not from you as parents, it might be from ourselves, because we also know that our future lies ahead of us. And even if it's not from ourselves, it's from school, it's from friends, it's from just society, honestly. And I would say that that pressure that you feel as youth, if you feel like you need to choose your whole life at 17, you don't. Because there's so many different ways that you can make it to your future, you can make it to the passion, and not everybody works at the same pace. You can't expect the entire world to know exactly what they want to do at grade 12. We're not all the same. We're very different. So take your time, choose something that will both feel like you've satisfied something that you have a passion in, and maybe something, if you can include your hobby, like I can. But really, the amount of pressure that you feel is totally normal, because everyone's feeling it, but you don't have to choose your whole life right now. That's what I would say.
Amro, thank you for sharing your art and your work. It's very intriguing, and as you mentioned, you have you chose 3 sculptures, and all 3 of them represent different things. Help me with, what are those 3 things that you mentioned?
Those 3 things were anger, anger and frustration. The second one was disbelief, and the third one was like breaking down. Vulnerability.
So I guess at the end I would say to the parents who are watching that art has been one of the ways that Amro has shared her experience of high school life, her mental health, her stresses, that it gave her that avenue to express. And back when I was in my high school years, I definitely had that stress too, but I did not have the art to go to, or I didn't know that this could have been my avenue or piece to go out towards something. And also, as Amro mentioned, passion. If you're passionate about something, you will keep coming back to it. Even as an adult, I can say that if you're passionate about something, that you will keep coming back to it, and you will not, even as an adult, feel fulfilled if you do not get to fulfill that career choice, and have that lifestyle that you wanted. So not everything for everybody, for every personality is about money. Success can look different for everyone, and success will look different for each child within the same family. So I hope today's discussion gave you some idea about how a grade 12 student's life can be, and that students do have their own pressure, that they do have their own stress as well. And if we can help and support and learn how to support our kids, and be open to our kids, and to help them choose a career that they're passionate about, I think that's when I would say as parents, we can do our job. We've done our job and assisted our kids to be successful, and not to worry for them in the rest of their lives. I hope that you enjoyed this program. Amro, thank you for coming in the studio, and thank you for bringing beautiful art and sharing it with us. We'll take our leave. Thank you for watching this program. आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. अगले हफ्ते ਅਸੀਂ एक होर नवा प्रोग्राम लैके आवांगे. बहुत शुक्रिया प्रोग्राम देखਣ ਦਾ. आप सब ਨੂੰ सत श्री अकाल.